Welcome back to the Jefferson My Drinks Fantasy Podcast, where we are on a mission to normalise 8-team leagues. We're missing a member of the party today, but I am joined by the magnificent Ian.
Well, like that. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, just trying to get in your good books before we start arguing about the fantasy football.
Yeah.
So,
the listeners, unfortunately, Pete is away on holiday. So
yeah, he said he didn't fancy doing the pod while sat by the pool. Don't understand why, really. It doesn't make sense to me, but
ridiculous. What else is there to do on holiday?
I know he's not even. I bet he's not even in a restaurant at the minute. He could have sat down, enjoyed our company, but
I bet he's bored. I bet he's sat on holiday, just bored, thinking, "Oh, I wish I was doing a podcast."
I bet, yeah. I bet he listens to it as well tomorrow and gives us his very, very honest feedback that he normally does.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. So with Pete out, there's obviously a new host, which is going to be myself for today. However, I feel like Ian, you may probably want to jump in when I make some catastrophic errors like normal. So we'll crack on. Yeah. So we are on the last division today, which is going to be the NFC West. Going to start with the 49ers because obviously they won the division. So in 2023, they finished first in the division with a 12-5 record, which gave them the number one seed, which meant a bye week for the first round of the playoffs. And then they played the Packers and the Lions, which they beat both to claim the NFC title. And then they lost in overtime to the Chiefs 25-22 in the Super Bowl, to which I still hear Ian almost crying, going, "You just can't keep getting away with it." After the game. For 2024, they are predicted 12.5 wins, and they are favourites at 1-2. So huge odds on. The ins, they selected Ricky Pearsall with the 31st selection in the draft. And for some reason, Pete wants to mention that Josh Dobbs has joined them. On the outs, on the outs, Sam Darnold leaves, and they also lose Ray McLeod, who not really fantasy relevant. Yeah. So same with Sam Darnold, to be honest. Oh no, Sam Darnold is now fantasy relevant.
Sam Darnold is relevant now. Ray McLeod has never been relevant.
The only thing with this new kickoff, I know we're going to talk about this with the Rams, so I'm going to leave that actually, but we'll come to it. Early ADPs, we've got Brock Purdy as QB 11, who finished as QB 6 last year. No arguments with CMC. He is number 1 and was number 1 last year. Brandon Aiyuk is the first receiver at wide receiver 13. He finished last year wide receiver 14. He's joined by last year's wide receiver 15, who is wide receiver 17 this year, which is Deebo Samuel. Tight end, George Kittle, tight end 7 this year after finishing last year as tight end 5. And for those of you who like a little bit of a gamble, the over and unders is Brock Purdy passing TDs at 27.5, and last year he had 31, and CMC rushing touchdowns at 10.5. He had 14 last year. However, this is a crazy fact. He's only ever hit double-digit rushing touchdowns twice, which I thought was quite amazing, really. But then you realise that he's got an absolute truck ton of receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
So then, buddy, where do you want to start? Should we just kill the CMC debate off?
I mean, there isn't really much to be said about CMC, is there?
Yeah. Freak of nature.
He was RB1 last year. Obviously, the injuries that people were worried about a couple of years ago, those soft tissue injuries that he kept picking up, they're obviously a thing of the past. There's absolutely no reason to be worried at all at taking CMC as number 1 overall, unless you're playing Superflex.
Yeah. So just on that, I've done a few. So for our main draft, I am drafting number 1, and I've obviously selected CMC. And when you get to the end of your draft and you go, it's a good draft. Like I don't think I've had a bad one purely because CMC's in there and he's that X factor. But yeah, yeah, he is going to go 1 overall in every redraft. Like you said, that isn't super flex. Purdy, we'll start there before we go on to probably the bigger debate, which is the receivers and the Titans. So Purdy at QB 11. Happy with that?
No, not particularly.
Go on.
I do think that's low, given the offense, and we just talked about CMC usually has a load more ground yards and a load more receiving touchdowns than pretty much any other running back. And then you look at the weapons that Purdy's got around him. People talk about him being system quarterback, is the new Tom Brady, but
system quarterbacks work.
System quarterbacks work. He was QB 6 last year. Absolutely no reason for him to drop 5 places. The offense hasn't got any worse.
Yeah,
there's been some change on the O-line. He's still got all of his weapons. QB 11 is, if you get him as QB 11, you've got a bargain.
Yeah. So we did an auction draft last week, and shout out to the Titans lads who still let me and Ian play in that. But we had that, and my third quarterback, which, because it's a super flex, my third quarterback is Brock Purdy. And granted, I went all gung ho on Josh Allen and CJ Stroud, but my third quarterback is Brock Purdy, and I am absolutely over the moon with that. I'm like, last year's QB 6, he, like you said, in that system, he worked perfectly. I think he realistically only had 1 bad game last year, which was the Ravens. And I think that was at the end of the season anyway. Or it was pretty close to the end of the season. Like he was fantastic all year round. I think one of the things that's really good about him is how mature he is as well, because he's not going to throw that stupidly risky pass when he's got CMC who's on the drop down, because he can give it to CMC with 10 yards to go, and the likelihood is he's probably going to get close to that 10 yards as well. So yes, you can argue it's down to the system, this, that, and the other, but he's also a good quarterback.
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, he doesn't take any unnecessary risks. And like you say, like if all your receivers are covered and you check down CMC, you're on to a winner, aren't you?
Yeah. So
the only reason he's dropped is because he literally does nothing on the ground. 144 rushing yards all year. Granted, he went for 2 TDs, but that's it's not what you want from a quarterback in fantasy. However, he scores that many points elsewhere, then it's not really something that's risky.
He outscored Mahomes last year.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but there's a caveat with that.
The Chiefs were terrible for the first half of the season, though.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. And if you gave Mahomes the weapons Purdy's got,
yeah, it's different. I mean, we don't need to do that. He's already winning them.
Yeah, it's a different story, then, isn't it?
Yeah, just on that, Pat Mahomes, if you're listening, probably not. Just do us a favour this year. Just have a stinker at the end of the year. Let everyone else have a go for once. So, this is probably the debate here. Are we happy with the Aiyuk 13 and Debo 17?
Currently, no. No.
I agree.
I mean, I'm more comfortable right now because it's now Wednesday, the 29th of August. And so whenever this goes out, as we record, Brandon Aiyuk is still not trained. He was supposed to train today. Kyle Shanahan said he hoped he'd train today, and he didn't train. So there are alarm bells going off. Jamar Chase hasn't got his deal sorted, but he is training. So that says to me,
he did one, and then rocked up 15 minutes late yesterday. But it's still one down to an injury. Yeah.
Still one more than Aiyuk. So it says to me that the Bengals are further on with their contract negotiations than the Niners are with Aiyuk, which is alarm bells ringing. And we are 1 week away now from Thursday night football or Friday morning football, as someone pointed out over in the UK today. Thanks I want Josh. So is Aiyuk going to be good to go week 1? Is there a risk in taking him higher than Debo? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the time he actually suits up, he might not even be at the Niners. So there is the risk there too.
Well, the Browns have just made a load of cap space, haven't they?
They have, and I saw a rumor that Washington were in for him after trading Dotson. So Washington trade Dotson with the Eagles for a second. They're going to use that second round for next year as leverage for an Aiyuk trade.
Yeah.
So there are several teams that are exploring the avenues with Aiyuk should his contract negotiations fail.
Yeah.
And if he goes to the Browns and you've picked him up over Debo, you're going to be fuming.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I mean, to be honest, it's not that I'm out on Aiyuk because I think he's an outstanding footballer, but I'm taking Debo over him, and I'm happy because realistically, at the start of the year, Debo is wide receiver 1 there. I always, my problem, and it's the same that I mentioned with CD Lamb. I think it was on the last episode when I was having a little rant. These players that sit out the preseason, they start the season slowly. They're more likely to pick up. I didn't realize this. We follow someone on Twitter. I can't remember his name. I think it's something like Jesse Morch, something like that. But he's a doctor out in America, and he basically reviews NFL players' injuries. He's really good to follow. If you ever want to know how long your player's going to be out for or anything like that, and he put a point out there.
Yeah, but if you are listening and you want to follow him, you probably can't because H doesn't know who it is.
Yeah, I think he's Jesse Morse. He's called. But he basically said, of all the players that missed the preseason, that missed the training camps and things like that, there is a higher percentage that they get injured, and then put like a load of statistics out there where players who like basically fought the negotiations and sat out training camp genuinely got injured more in the next season than they had their whole careers. So that's my another worry with Aiyuk for me. Plus, I just really like Debo. I don't know. I like when I have Debo in my team.
It's because you've watched receiver.
No, because I had Debo last year and I absolutely loved having Debo. So I think it's because he's got that. He steals touchdowns, Debo, because he has that swing sort of rushing thing.
He has the jet
sweep. Yeah, and he seems to get into the end zone quite a lot as well. And he's also, I know he was just under 1,000 yards last year, but he scored a lot of rushing touchdowns, which made his overall sort of touches over 1,000 yards. So yeah. I think we're kind of agreement on that one. Should we go on to Kittle?
Yeah, with Aiyuk, he'd have to drop about 5 places for me to take the risk. Because, like I said, he might not sign a contract and he might end up somewhere that you absolutely hate.
Yeah. George Kittle, where you at there?
Everyone's favourite tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love the guy. Love him as a player. You know, he doesn't take a snap off. He doesn't have no breaks. He loves blocking. Titan 7 after last year's Titan 5. I think that's about right.
Yeah, there's a few young guys that have jumped him this year. So Laporte is one of them. You've got Dalton Kincaid has jumped above him, I think. There's Trey McBride, who we'll talk about later, has jumped above him. I can see why. And at some point, Kittle may have a slightly less of a year. I'm one of the people that drafts the tight end late, and I've picked up Kittle in about 4 leagues, and I am more than happy with it. Like I think he's a great tight end. Last year finished with over 1,000 yards. I personally think he's, as an overall tight end, I think he's probably the best, purely because he loves to do the blocking, he loves to do the dirty work. And I think with receiver, like you said, a lot of people fell in love with how sort of multi-talented he was. He's not just a receiving tight end. Like the play with Hutchinson where he, in his words, pancaked him. Like that, it's stuff like that where you go, yeah, love that about you. The only worry is potential injuries when you do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, plus he's getting on a bit now. He's older than people think, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in his 30s now, so even though he acts young, and in a good way, he's actually older than people think. If you're going into a draft, and then it's late now, with we've still got drafts to do. It's a 1 week away from the season, so most people's done their drafts. If you've still got drafts coming up and you're avoiding Aiyuk because of the risk of him not playing or him going somewhere else, then you might as well double down and pick up Kittle.
100%.
Because there is, as much as there is a chance of Aiyuk going somewhere else, there is that same amount of chance of Kittle getting an increased role in that offense.
Yeah. But that's the big caveat as well, isn't it? If Aiyuk, even if Aiyuk is there, he's potentially going to start slow, and that's why Debo and Kittle become slightly better targets, I suppose, for you.
Yeah.
Interesting one. Even now, and we're literally, it depends on how you want to caveat it, we're a week away from the start of the season. The Aiyuk situation is probably wreaking havoc on a lot of people's fantasy teams right now.
Oh yeah, there'll be a lot of people really worried, especially today, after we were supposed to have trained and he didn't train.
Yeah,
because there was that glimmer of hope where Shanahan said, "Oh, he's going to train," and anyone who had Aiyuk in their teams was rejoicing. Oh, he's back. The contract's going to get signed, and then he doesn't train. He just pulls the rug from out under you, and you're back to square one.
And then the Browns make 30 million in cap space, and you want to know why?
Yeah. But then I'd love it in any one of my leagues. I would love to see, before the season starts, trade of Brandon Aiyuk somewhere. That would be hilarious if I saw someone trade Aiyuk before the season's even started.
Yeah. So that's the end of the 49ers. We'll move on to the Rams, who finished second last year. They finished with a 10-7 record, which did get them a wildcard spot, in which they lost in the wildcard round. It was a really good game, this one, to watch. And it was 24-23 to the Lions. So really good game. I think it's probably well remembered for Eminem trying to tell Matt Stafford to let us win. So the Rams head into 2024 as second favourites for the division at 7-2, and an over/under on the wins at 8.5, which that may be worth having a little conversation about. This year, their ins is Blake Corum in the third. They've got Jordan Whittington in the sixth. They also add Jimmy Garoppolo and Colby Parkinson. Outs, there wasn't any fantasy relevant ones. However, it is well worth mentioning that one of the absolute greats on defense did retire, and Aaron Donald, happy retirement.
Happy retirement. Unbelievable player.
Yeah. Early ADPs is Matt Stafford is QB 19, who finished as QB 15 last year. We've got Kyren Williams, or Karen if you're a fan of the show, is RB7 and was RB7 last year. Pete didn't throw this one in there, but I have mentioned it now. But Blake Corum is, I think, running back 38, if my math was right. I didn't look at the actual number when I should have. We've got
great content. Great content.
We got Puka Nacua as wide receiver 7, who finished as last year's wide receiver 4. We've got Cooper Kupp, who finished wide receiver 22, and last year he only played 12 games and finished as wide receiver 40. Colby Parkinson is tight end 29 after finishing last year as tight end 38 with the Seahawks. And then some over-unders for you gambling folk. Matt Stafford passing over 4,000 yards and Cooper Kupp at 6.5 receiving TDs. So, where do you want to start with this one, mate? Over to you.
Let's start with Kyren Williams and the news this week where Sean McVay has said that Kyren will be used for punt returns.
Okay.
You've seen this?
It's kickoff returns, though, isn't it? I didn't think it was punt return.
It's punt returns. You're going to use it for. Which
I thought it was kickoff. See, this is what I was going to say. So the kickoff returns. So I was listening to. It was again Texans. I apologize, but I was listening to the Texans coordinators. They come out and they do a press conference, and it's Frank Ross, who's our special teams coach, and he was saying the new kickoff rules are very similar to a running play, and that's why they have been playing running backs at the kickoff thing. And I thought it was really interesting that after that, the Rams have said Kyren Williams is going to be doing kickoff returns.
No, I read punt, definitely punt. Although someone may correct me, but I definitely read an article where it said punt today, 100%. Which, for anyone that's already drafted and has Kyren Williams as their RB1, that is horrendous news.
Yeah.
You don't want your RB1 taking reps on punt returns. Kickoffs, maybe. I will give you kickoffs.
Yeah.
I will give you that. But punt returns, that isn't your job. That isn't a job for RB1. That is where you should be throwing Blake Corum in there. And let him do that. If you want to put a running back in there, send Blake Corum in. Send the rookie to go and do it. Let him earn it. You don't put your RB1 there.
No. I'm just having a quick look to see.
You're checking what I've said, aren't you?
Yeah, because I came here and it's completely. He is on punt returns this season. Wow.
Yeah. Which is even more mental.
Well, on that then, does that not boost Blake Corum? Because Kyren Williams.
100% it boosts Blake Corum. Firstly, if Kyren Williams is taking reps at punt return, he's going to be giving up less reps at running back. Yeah, they've got to keep him fresh. He's also got more chance of injury.
Yeah.
So your stock in Blake Corum should be rising massively, and you should be fading Kyren Williams. His ADP's RB7 last year. I wouldn't even put him in the top 10. Not even the top 12 this year, if that's what's going on.
So I genuinely read, I can't remember who it was, and they put, it's one of these fantasy football, similar to us, they have their own podcast and things like that, and they said, if you want to see what Kyren Williams is, just Google James Robinson. And I was like, that's a bit harsh. So just on the Blake Corum, Kyren Williams situation, I was reading an article with somebody in Rams in the inner circle, and he was saying that they started the season sharing sort of reps with the ones, and then by the end of training camp, it was all Blake Corum with the ones. So I'm wondering if Blake Corum is probably even better than advertised. Like, we saw how good he was at Michigan. Like, the Michigan team was a run-heavy offense, and he was a huge part of that. He was the the RB1 there. I'm wondering if he's actually a little bit better than what we thought. I mean, the Rams used a third-round pick on the guy for a reason. They saw something. But I'm wondering if he's even better than what was kind of advertised. And with a head coach as intelligent and so smart with his offensive plays, that Sean McVay is going to get even more out of him than just a sort of a bull rush. I'm going to run you over for 14 plays a drive kind of thing.
Yeah. And Kyren Williams is now the new Cam Akers.
No, Cam Akers, man. Cam Akers is back. Do you not see his preseason?
Oh, come on.
Made our 53, didn't he?
Kyren Williams is going to go the way of Cam Akers, essentially.
Yeah. It'll be interesting if Kyren Williams isn't a RB1, does he become a trade target for someone? Like you look at some of the teams that are very much in need of a running back. Does someone go, well, hold up, that guy was pretty good last year. Let's trade him in and see what happens.
I mean, there's always people out there that that think because someone was good last year means they're going to be great this year.
Yeah, true.
I don't mind that line of logic.
There's always one that falls off a cliff, though.
Yeah, but there is always one that falls off a cliff. And a good indicator that Kyren Williams is going to fall off a cliff is the fact that he's now on special teams. That isn't kickoff return.
Yeah.
The only way I'd be interested in Kyren is right now is as an RB2.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be confident. I wouldn't be confident with Kyren as my RB1.
No.
I'd take him as my RB2, and then later in the draft, also handcuff him and pick up Blake Corum.
Yeah. Let's move it on because we've spoke a lot on them. Puka and Cooper. Well, how are you finding this situation?
Puka's too high, Cup's too low.
I agree. I genuinely think that I'm one of the only people that thinks this. I love Puka Nacua. I think he's an amazing talent. But Cooper Kupp was banged up a lot of last year, and I think it was the year before that he got the Triple Crown. Like, Cooper Kupp is still a huge weapon. I don't know if Puka can do exactly what he did last year.
Definitely not.
By all means, he can. Don't get me wrong. I just think because, Cooper Kupp only played 12 games last year, which obviously helped Nacua sort of be as, stats-wise, as massive as he was. I'm just wondering if Cooper Kupp stays fit for the full season, how much closer that battle is between the two.
Well, from 12 games last year, Cooper Kupp caught 59 of 95, 737 yards and 5 TDs, which, if you put that over the full season, put him on track for 85 receptions, 1,116 yards and 7 TDs, which would have made him wide receiver 16 between Debo and Chris Olave.
Mm. Yeah.
So Cooper Kupp going as wide receiver 22. I'm having that all day.
Yeah.
Because he's still going to be wide receiver 1 there. Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's the one.
Puka Nacua was fantastic last year. And it's probably going to be the case now where the Rams are running a 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
There's no 1 and 2. But Kupp's the 1A.
Yeah.
And it has been for years. Stafford's favourite target. Stafford loves him. He's got the relationship with Stafford. If I'm getting Cooper Kupp at 22, I'm buzzing.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp's the one where when you look at their ADP, can absolutely smash that. Because if you get a full season out of Cooper Kupp, he is not wide receiver 22.
Mm-mm.
Not even close.
No chance. No chance.
So, yeah.
I actually have them both around 14.
Yeah, similar to the San Fran too.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that. I think a lot of people, it's similar to what you said about Kyren Williams. When they have a good season, it's automatic. The ADP goes through the roof. This, that, and the other. And Nacua did have a great year.
Oh, he's unbelievable. Set the rookie record, didn't he?
Yeah. But is he going to be able to do that with a fully fit Cooper Kupp, who I think last year, he didn't even start the season last year, if I remember right. He joined a few weeks in, didn't he? And then still got injured again. If Cooper Kupp stays fit, I am, real high on him. Matt Stafford, any interest?
No, and to be honest, that's more of a personal thing for me because I've never really been interested in Matt Stafford.
That's a shame on you at the moment, that, mate.
Well,
I've always been a massive fan of him. I loved him at Detroit. I think with me, the reason that I like him is he is that player that you always say, like, put the team on your back and carry them. And he tried so hard for so many years at Detroit, went to a team that was full of weapons, and he won a Super Bowl. Just on that trade as well, it's very rare that a trade works out perfectly for both players.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Rams the Rams wanted a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. They pick up Stafford to win that Super Bowl. They do that, and the Lions wanted a quarterback that they could build around, and they've done that. And now they are a Super Bowl contender. So it's not often that happens, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. As long as they play indoors.
yeah, yeah. But like when it comes down to those sort of second quarterbacks that you need to pick, and if you're the last one to pick, I feel like I'm leaning towards Stafford over a few others just because of the weapons that he's got as well. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. I think when you get down to your Staffords in your draft, I think they're all much of a muchness.
yeah,
I mean,
it's just trying to
he's steady, he's not going to let you down,
yeah,
and that's fine. The only time you're going to like theoretically use him is during bye weeks.
yeah, and that's
So
why 18 weeks are great because
I've
you
got
don't
no
need to.
issue sticking him in for a bye week because he's steady and he's got the weapons and he won't let you down.
Probably not. Any interest in Colby Parkinson for a league?
No, not in our leagues. In some of the deeper leagues, I've taken him because I do have some interest.
Yeah,
I've bought into the hype from some preseason videos because he looks quality.
I think with him, and I'm similar to you. Like I've fallen for a few hype videos, but also on the flip side is I think if I remember right, he signed a 3-year deal, and Tyler Higbee's out for probably all of the year.
Yeah, the
So he's
season.
gonna
Yeah.
be he's gonna be the tight end one there. It's mainly like you said, deeper leagues or um things like best ball, which we're not allowed to talk about because you shout at me.
No,
So
because everyone's relevant for basketball, so it doesn't count.
not really, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move it on. Sorry to those that were watching that and just saw my finger start coming at you. So anyone on the YouTube that wants to see what my fingers look like, feel free.
Jesus, that's niche.
Yeah. So moving on to third in the division, it was the Seahawks. They finished with a 9-8 record. They head into 2024 with the basically favourites to finish third again with 15-2, so really close to the Rams. They have a 8-5 wins on the over/under. Some ins, they have got Sam Howell, and just because I think Pete wants to punish me, you've got Laviska Shenault on the ins. On the outs, you've got Drew Lock, DJ Dallas, Will Dissly, and the previously mentioned Colby Parkinson. ADPs is Gino at QB 26, who was QB 19 last year. Kenneth Walker at RB 17, who was RB 19 last year. DK Metcalf is wide receiver 23, who was wide receiver 21 last year. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was wide receiver 46 and was 48 last year. Tyler Lockett has taken a huge hit this year, but we're probably going to come on to this. So he is ADP is wide receiver 52 and finished as 32 last year. And then wrapping it up is Noah Fant, the tight end 1, who is tight end 24, who finished as tight end 32 last year. If I may, I'm just going to get this one out of the way.
Go on then.
Noah Fant is a waiver interest later in the year for me because, and here's why. Last year, he had a 3-way thing with Will Dissly, Colby Parkinson. Yeah, you heard it right. He was a three-way tight end, Will Dissly, Colby Parkinson, and Noah Fant. And Noah Fant, towards the end of the season, started to pick up a little bit. And I'm really interested to see how he works in this Seahawks offense. I don't think he's going to do anything special. And we're going to come on to why. But he is one where I'm like, I've taken in a few very deep leagues and gone, don't know why I'm happy about that, but I'm happy about that. But probably not relevant for us.
Well, I do like Noah Fant, and I like there was some leagues where I've taken him as my second tight end.
Yeah, there's just something.
Oh yeah, well, like you say, he's on his own. I think he's on a $3 million, $24 million contract. So they obviously believe in him. It's also tying into the drop off with Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's getting, and it's a good job Pete's not here for this because Pete loves him. But Tyler Lockett, he's getting old. He's getting old, and he, wide receiver 32 last year. Not a great return. Wide receiver 52 this year. Noah Fant's having a bigger role this year.
I think there's another player that's going to play a huge role this year. And it's probably because I've loved him since I was watching him for the Buckeyes. And that's Jackson Smith-Njigba. I've said this before. I am not ready to fall out of love with Jackson Smith-Njigba. He was so special at college. He was, if I put it into context, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave had a conversation, or they were interviewed about who is the best of these Buckeye receivers, and they both said Jackson Smith-Njigba because he can play every position, he can do everything. That was before Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of played with Jackson Smith-Njigba in his last year, but Jackson Smith-Njigba, I keep falling for the hype videos of him. I absolutely love him. I really think he's going to have a big year this year. I don't see him being wide receiver 1 there, so that does kill it a bit, because I'll be honest, there's two or three times now I've drafted and I've had DK and I've gone, I'm really happy with that, just because it's like you've got a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 23, which seems really low, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the year where Jackson Smith-Njigba takes over as that wide receiver 2 from Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, he fades out a bit. Noah Fant takes up a bit more work. I'm not picking up JSN anywhere though. I want to see it happen first.
Yeah.
I'm not gambling. I'm not wasting a pick on JSN until I've actually seen it happen.
I can get behind that. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Like I very much love. I love watching college football, and I fall in love with players, and then I draft them, and they tend to be pretty trash, to be honest. So I've not got the best track record with that, but JSN, yeah, I'm a big fan of JSN. I think he is going to have a much better year. I think he's going to be better than wide receiver 46. But like you say, you've got to see it happen now. There was glimpses last year. There was the I can't remember the game, but he basically caught, I think it was like 50 yards from 2 or 3 throws, including the final touchdown. And he, it was a big win for them. I can't remember who it was against though, so I apologize for that. But it was the last players of the game. And it's probably Gino's best moment last year as well. On Gino.
Did Gino have a good moment last year? This is the thing. This is another reason why I'm not in on JSN, or I'm always in on DK.
Yeah,
the talent that DK's got, you can't not be in on him. I don't get Geno Smith. I don't get what the Seahawks see in him. They brought in Sam Howell, which
this is the thing. Why.
PJ Walker did a job in the XFL. But he's already proved it. That he can't do it in NFL. Like the Seahawks are really poor at the quarterback position.
Yeah, my thinking is that I'll be honest. I see by the end of the year the Seahawks having enough of Geno to move to Sam Howell.
I agree.
I think
maybe Sam
Yeah.
Howell's off by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which, that isn't a great outlook.
It's not, but there was also times last year with Sam Howell where you were like, "There's something there." I mean, we had the Howler named after him last year, and after that, when he won the Howler and the whole Howler was created, after that he played really well until I think
Yeah.
week 16 or something like that.
I think he had 4 weeks where he was all right, and then it just went off a cliff.
Yeah, and I'm just in the greatest.
I remember it was last week of the season. Sam Howell won the Howler Award.
Yeah, he started it and finished with it.
He won his own award in the last week of the season. Yeah, he started and finished.
I think with Sam Howell, one of the things that he has here that he didn't have with the Commanders is a better wide receiver room. DK is better than Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
You got JSN and Lockett, who, let's be honest, all right, you can argue the JSN, but Lockett definitely was better than Curtis Samuel, who was there last year, and JSN is better than Dotson. There's an argument that with the better players, he may do something, but it'll be interesting. It will be interesting one to watch.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker.
Well, I'll let you start with this because you absolutely love this guy.
I do. I have a slight concern with him this year on the grounds of I think Zach Carbonnet, as you like to put it. I think I think Charbonnet may take a few more reps this year. You don't draft a guy in the second round to sit him on your bench. Granted, he didn't look great when he played last year, but that could just be rookie. I think I like Kenneth Walker. RB17, he's probably the one where you can look at him and go, I could see you getting a little bit higher than that. And there are weapons on the outside which can give him opportunities in the inside. So I'm not out on him, but I think at his ADP, I'd probably be okay with it. There's just that the uncertainty around Charbonnet for me, because like I said, you draft a guy in the second round, you're not giving up in the second year, especially and with Walker, he also does like to get on the injury report as well. So there's enough there to worry, but there's also enough there to go, I'll take him at his ADP.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. Because looking around him, you got James Cook, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara all ahead of him. I'd rather take all three of those ahead of him, which is why obviously they ranked higher. Especially with Kendrick Miller starting the year on IR. So
the only one that
4 weeks. Then you look after him, Aaron Jones. No interest personally in Aaron Jones. I think he's finished. DeAndre Swift. I'd rather.
Yeah, you're high on Swift. Yeah.
James Conner, probably not. David Montgomery. I'd take David Montgomery over Kenneth Walker. And he definitely shares the backfield.
Yeah.
I'd be more comfortable with Monty, knowing that you're going to get what you always get from Monty, rather than drafting high with Kenneth Walker and then watching Carbonnet and then you're fuming.
My only problem with Montgomery is Jahmyr Gibbs, because I think Gibbs will make have a huge step up this year, and I get your point. Like it wouldn't surprise me to see Montgomery, when they're in the red zone, it's, hey, here's Monty's ball. Cheers, Jahmyr. You've done all the hard work. You've got 60 yards, but it's time for the big lad to run it in. James Cook, I'm not overly keen on this year. I think he has the long-term replacement for him now in the team in Trey Benson. I don't think it's going to start that way. I think it's going to be all
Franco, no.
No. But like, so it's one of them. Like, I think with Walker, there's enough there. I would take Walker over Aaron Jones, and I would take, in my opinion, and I know we differ on this one, but that's because I like Walker, and I'm not overly keen on Kamara anymore. I used to be. I think he's past his best now. So I personally would go Walker over Kamara, but that's just a preference, though. Like, he's not jumping up massively in the ADPs for me. Like I said, if it's on sort of his ADP, I'm all right taking him where he is. Maybe one higher, like I say, because that's only because I'm not keen on Kamara. But I wouldn't be sad if I missed out on him either. Like, he's not one of those players where I go, I had to have him. Not like you know what I'm like. Like, for instance, last year with ETN was my player. I don't know why, and granted, it worked out this year. It probably won't this year, but like that, I'm not like that with Walker. But I don't mind him if he's my, let's say my third running back or my, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a funny one, really.
Yeah, I mean, at his ADP, I don't want him because of the risk he's giving up reps to Carb on it. If he drops 3-4 spots to around where David Montgomery is, to around where Ramondre Stevenson is,
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one for me. I'm personally more in on Stevenson. I think Stevenson's way too low, in my opinion. There's nothing else on that offense, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but it's one of those. It's all down to who you fancy, really. And I do think that because of the receivers, there is an opportunity for Walker. My only problem is, I think, the Carbonnet situation, which I've mentioned. So, should we move it on to the last one?
Yeah.
So, I will start this by saying I cannot believe Pete is not here for this one.
Such a shame that Pete isn't here for this.
I'm gonna go all Pete though. So, and I will talk on behalf of Pete with this one. So it is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Last year finished 4th in the division with a 4-3 record. This year they are predicted a little bit better in terms of wins. 6.5 wins is the over/under, and they are favourites to finish 4th at 12-1 to win the division. Biggins is Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 4th overall pick. They also pick up Trey Benson in the 3rd, and also Zay Flowers.
Zay Jones.
Zay Jones, not Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers plays for the Ravens. Zay Jones, sorry. The outs, they've got Hollywood Brown leaving and Rondell Moore leaving. So that now leaves us with the early ADPs of Kyler Murray at QB 9. He finished at QB 27 last year, but only played 8 games. So it's well worth just noting that for anyone out there. James Conner, as we mentioned earlier, he is around the Kenneth Walker spot, which is RB 19. He finished as RB 18 last year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is wide receiver 9, which is the highest ever as a rookie, I think, in terms of ADPs coming into the league. Michael Wilson is wide receiver 77. He finished as wide receiver 60 last year. And then the other player that is well worth a mention here is Trey McBride, who is tight end 3. He finished as tight end 7 last year. And once again, for you gambling folk out there, the over-unders for the Cardinals is Kyler Murray at 19.5 passing TDs and Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1,075 yards receiving. And Pete has mentioned here Puka Nakua's rookie record of 1,486 yards. So I am interested if Pete was going to comment on that in some way.
Is Pete thinking that Junior is going to?
That's what I think. I don't know why he's put it in there. I'm
I
going to go
mean,
all Pete on this.
I think there's a
So
chance.
I do. I 100%. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, because he is a special player.
Yeah,
And
it'd absolutely mental for Puka to break the record and then lose it the
the
year.
year later,
Yeah. I think there's a real chance of it. Well, that record could be in danger.
yeah, it's been hard not to see Marvin Harrison Jr. hype videos, because I feel like every Cardinals video is a Marvin Harrison Jr. But there was one where he was going up again. I think it was the Colts actually, and I feel terrible for bringing it up with Pete not here. And he was going up against Kenny Moore, who was a Pro Bowler last year, and Marvin Harrison Jr. he breaks his ankles, and I was just like, oh, he's so good. I love watching him. I love watching him. Obviously, there's a lot of videos that I watched when we drafted Stroud, and I fell in love with this guy. Wide receiver 9 for a rookie. Are you still taking him?
Not at 9, no.
Okay.
It's
a risk, that one.
Yeah, it's such a risk. There's so many rookies that come into the game, and they're not quite ready. All the talk is that he's ready, but every coach in the world says that about the rookies when they're going to chuck him in. I've never seen anyone so ready. People saying that about Keon Coleman. Oh, he's so ready. They can't all be ready.
Yeah.
Some of them want time to develop. And, Harrison Jr., you're right, he is a different specimen. He probably doesn't need time to develop. But, a wide receiver 9, especially the way I draft, because I do like mopping up running backs early.
Yeah.
So when I get to my wide receivers and Harrison Jr. is on the board, there is a very decent chance that Harrison Jr., if I take him, is my wide receiver 1. And I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a fair point. I just love. It's well known with our drafts and our drafts. I literally got called the college wide receiver room in the latest draft, just because I am very high on rookies. I will state
the kids.
This, yeah, I will state this though. With Marvin Harrison Jr., I like him far more than Neighbors, purely because of Kyler. And I am going to go all Pete here. So just when we mention why we need to mention Pete with this, Pete, in every single draft that we are in, I'm pretty sure has double stacked Kyler Murray with either Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride. And I mean, every draft that I am in with Pete, I think he has done that. I like Harrison Jr. more than Neighbors purely because of the quarterback, though. I think when you have a quarterback who, let's face it, Kyler Murray is not a bad quarterback. He was injured a lot last year, and it's interesting with him that in the 8 games that he played, it also really helped Trey McBride become tight end 3 this year. Because I don't think so there was rumours that Kyler could sit out last year because of his injury, and then there was rumours that he was going to play week 3, I think it was, and then he was sitting out for the year again, and he comes back. Trey McBride looks just a phenomenal footballer at that point. I really like. I don't know why. It's probably Pete just in my ear all the time telling me about Kyler, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. I think I've always loved Marvin Harrison. That's a fact. But I am falling for the trap of Kyler and McBride. Yeah. It's just the way that I draft, I don't pick up a tight end until late. So McBride would have to fall fairly heavy for me to pick him up, which I don't see him doing really.
How heavily?
I don't know. Maybe I don't. I don't see.
I like McBride at where he is.
I do. I like him where he is. It's just I don't know why I've seen him fall to maybe like tight end 5, and I'm like, I'm in then. and I go for him if he lands at me. But I'm trying to think who's around him though. Like it's Kelsey, Laporta, then him. Is it Dalton Kincaid after that?
It could be Mark Andrews.
Yeah, Andrews as well. I'm more in on McBride than I am on Andrews.
Well, in one of our drafts, and I know there's no relevance to our listeners, but drafting with Pete, I picked up McBride, he picked up Mark Andrews, and then instantly sent me a trade offer.
What, 1-for-1?
Yeah. And I was like,
yeah.
well, I passed on Mark Andrews to take McBride. Why would I sell you?
Yeah.
But yeah. Obviously, I'm taking McBride over Mark Andrews all day.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews coming back from his injury. Isaiah likely is likely to eat into his snap count. Likely to eat into his targets. Trey McBride is, he's unchallenged there really in the offense. Yeah. So I'm taking Trey McBride over Mark Andrews all day. So for me, I don't want him to drop. I will take him as tight end 3.
Yeah.
If I get the chance to.
Yeah. I can see that one. Kyler at 9. Are you happy with that? Or
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Yeah. I've taken Kyler a little bit higher though. I think it was granted it was again best ball, but I didn't take a quarterback early doors and I left it and I looked at my team with Kyler as my QB1 and then I think I went quite quickly with my next one to get a second quite high quarterback. But I looked at the team at the end and I was like, oh, Kyler is my QB1. I'm all right with that. Because I had some pretty solid players around as well.
Yeah.
I think if he stays fit, he can be brilliant. It's just that he's had a couple of really big injuries. I think the ACL the year before, the start of this year, you tend to find that when they head into that second year, they start to really open up. But he loves a rush as well. Rushing quarterbacks always get extra points. So, yeah.
So just looking at where Kyler Murray is at 9, above him, there were 2 quarterbacks I'd take him over. I'd take him over Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I'd take him over Anthony Richardson. Just because I don't trust Anthony Richardson can do a full season.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there is that risk with Kyler because Kyler's had his injuries. But until Richardson does a full season, I've got no interest in him. And he's been drafted way too high.
I've said this. I said this. I said this at the last year. The biggest problem with Anthony Richardson is he hasn't played a full season. He's always been banged up.
He's not done a full
when he was at Florida. Yeah. But when he does play, he's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm not taking Anthony Richardson over Kyler Murray.
No.
At this point. Maybe next year, maybe the year after, who knows?
Yeah.
However, my counter argument to where Murray's being drafted, I would take Jordan Love over Kyler Murray.
I like Love.
Jordan Love's below him. So if it comes between Murray and Love, I would take Jordan Love.
I do like Love, but I think with Kyler and the rushing, that's why he's ADP is it's the one higher that into. I think he's.
Jordan Love isn't slow on his feet.
He's not, and also the other side of it is Jordan Love has. Obviously, we don't know what Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the NFL, but Jordan Love has 4 outstanding receivers in his group.
Well, 3 in Christian Watson.
3 in the walking hamstrings.
Yeah.
Or biscuit hamstrings.
Oh, well, you can't catch either, so let's stay on point here.
Yeah. James Conner,
where you at?
I'd said it earlier. I'm a little bit out on him this year, and it's down to Trey Benson coming in. I think when I looked at a few of the teams that I thought were going to pick up running backs, I didn't have the Cardinals as one because Connor got I think it was his first 1,000-yard season last year, if I remember right. And I was quite like, they found something there with Connor. I also think that with Connor, like there's something not making him a full like 3 down back kind of thing. I think he needs probably a running partner, and I think Trey Benson may be that sort of someone that will come in, take some reps off him, and the running back 19. I would definitely take Stevenson over him. I already mentioned that I'm more in on Kenneth Walker, who's around about the same one. I'm trying to think who else it was that was below him.
Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery. I would probably take Montgomery over him because I think Montgomery is going to get far more goal line work purely because one, it seems like he's more likely to be the goal line back, but also he's in a better team. And I think I do genuinely believe the Cardinals will be that team that surprises a lot of people this year. I think they will be better. They're not going to win the division. I don't think they're going to be close to winning the division. But the 6.5 wins, it wouldn't surprise me if they were a little bit better than that. I could see them being 8 and 9.
Yeah,
something like that.
I've not got them getting that. When I did my predictions, I think I got them getting 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah,
it's 5. I've got them getting 5 wins.
Yeah,
but like I said, I did those rankings 6 to 8 weeks ago. And I should do them again before the season starts, just to see if my opinions change based on preseason and based on camp hype and things like that.
Yeah. Just on that, whilst we've got you, do you want to run through what you've got for the NFC West? So start off with the 49ers. Did you? I'm throwing you under the bus here. You might not have got it up because
that's fine.
Yeah,
49ers 16-1.
Wow. Okay.
Big year for them, and they're winning the Super Bowl. They're going to beat the Ravens.
I do remember you saying that. To be fair, you had them winning it.
However, that is dependent on Aiyuk signing a contract.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, the Rams I've got going 5-12.
Wow.
Yeah, bad year for the Rams, but a better year for the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to finish second in the division. I think they're going to go. Where is it? 10-7.
10-7. Making the playoffs?
Yes. Yeah, they do, yeah.
And losing to Detroit, I'm assuming? Eagles.
And then Cardinals 5-12.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about the Cardinals. I think with the fully healthy team this year, I think they should be a little bit better. But it's all opinions, and you know what I mean. Well, like you've got
here's the Cardinals fixtures. Okay.
Yeah.
5 wins I've got them getting are against the Commanders, the Chargers, the Vikings, the Pats, and the Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah. The only one is the Chargers, but that's because I love the Chargers.
Yeah. Here's the losses. At the Bills.
Yeah.
The Rams twice.
Yeah.
The Niners twice.
Yeah.
The Seahawks twice.
Yeah.
The Lions.
Yeah.
Packers.
Oh yeah, they're in. Yeah.
Dolphins. Bears and Jets.
Yeah.
I've got a tough season ahead.
Yeah. It is a tough season.
So I would bet the unders on the 6.5 wins.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think they're a better team. I think they built a lot in the trenches this off season. I think they drafted really well. I've mentioned this many a times, but they just didn't overthink the draft this year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think they picked on what they needed. A lot of really good players came in, and I just see them being a better team this year. I don't see them winning the division. I can see them pinching a win against the Seahawks, and I can see them pinching a win against the Rams, which for me would take them to sort of 7 to 8 wins. I think they'd finish about 8 and 9. But that's a brave call more than a.
Yeah, not with that schedule.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is very evident with a lot of these is how what division they're in, because you go, yeah, actually they're playing San Fran twice, the Rams twice, and the Seahawks twice. Like that's tough enough just to start with. And I mean, you see it every year with your division as well, don't you, with the Bengals? So.
Well, yeah, 'cause I don't really want to get into it because the Bengals didn't make the playoffs with the 9-8 season last year, but the Chiefs won their division with 9-8.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other one as well. The Seahawks, if they were in 2 other divisions, they would have made the playoffs last year, but because they're in this division, don't. So
yes, like some of the divisions are a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I was going to just wrap it up.
Yeah, sound. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that has been the Jefferson My Drinks Fantasy Podcast. Feel free to follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube, which is at JMD Pod, and at JMD Podcast on TikTok now. So if anyone is out there that loves the TikTok, there is content going out there.
All you kids that are on TikTok.
Yeah, so we are starting to put a few bits and bobs out there now due to just me enjoying doing a bit of video editing and doing a bit of work on it.
Due to our kid going on TikTok and doing the posts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forcing the youngest member of the podcast to do it. Yeah.
So we are starting to put some stuff out there. Remember, like, share, tell your friends, and you tell your mum and dad. Like, we don't care who listens to it. Just tell everyone. And
your mum probably knows.
Yeah.
And then already knows us.
And we'll see you next time, where hopefully Pete will be back. And I think it's going to be week 1 preview as well. So it'll be good fun.
Yep. See you next week.
See you next week.